New Year. I think it is. And boom. Happy New Year. Hey, everybody. Welcome. January 3rd. Ben, Caleb, Jem, and all of yous. Here we are. Happy New Year.
Oh, my. Look at this chat already.
It's going. What do we got? Who's here?
Yeah, let's pop this window out here. Move this over there. We got Brandon. What's up, Brandon? Good to see you, man. Jago. DJ Suckertash.
Yep.
And Ono.
Very nice. Good to have everybody here. And here we go.
Sully.
2024. Sully's here. Sully's been hanging.
It's another one.
Here we go. All right. So we are thinking that it feels like we just did this because it almost feels like the old days because, well, we pretty much did because it was right before the holiday. You guys were on your deathbeds and still pushed through. And speaking of pushing through, are we having something to drink today, gentlemen? Is that going to happen? Yes, no? Yes. Okay, well, let's do it then. Let's start with drinks, and then we'll get into hanging out with the chat and hopefully having a good time. So what do we got? Well, who's going first? Tell me. I'm ready. Trigger finger. Ben. Boom.
Me. This is a wine that was opened last year. And it's still just about drinkable. Come on. Come on, folks.
Just about.
Come on. I mean,
come on.
It's there we go. There we go.
There it is.
It's a Malbec. There we go.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Very nice. Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I'm drinking just because I've got a bottle of whiskey that I'd like to crack open, but I'm generally trying not to drink at the moment. Obviously, this is an exception.
Understood. Okay, good. By the way, Bill, good to have you here, along with everybody else. Caleb, what are you drinking today, sir?
I'm ready for a drink because I spent many hours on the phone or on hold with the Illinois Department of Revenue today.
Oh,
so that's always fun. So today, this is actually a gift from a viewer. This is, here, I'll show it to you guys. Got it in the box and everything.
Wow.
How would you pronounce that, Ben?
Penderin.
Penderin, yeah. Penderin.
All right. Yeah.
That
so
from?
this is a single malt.
Nice.
Yeah.
Welsh whiskey.
Welsh whiskey.
Ooh.
So this is very, very new for me. Here's the back for anyone who wants to pause and painstakingly
Is it in
read.
Welsh? I don't know. It might as well be in Welsh. It's so small I can't read it.
Can you do a Welsh
I think there is a section of it.
Oh, really?
Can I? No, I can't. Well, Welsh is one of the ones that I can't really do because it descends very quickly into Indian.
Oh, really?
I can't hold it. I can do like 3-4 words in and then it just
You
goes
know
off
what?
somewhere else.
That's a little messed up. I don't even want to go there with that. I don't know what that means. How does Welsh go into Indian?
It just does.
Oh.
I'm not going to demonstrate, but if I try and do a Welsh accent, it just disappears off somewhere else.
It definitely has something to do with you growing up. It's okay. Well, when you went out for a kebab and somebody said do a Welsh accent, I can just imagine. You do what?
Yeah. Oh, I just want to shout out James.
It looks amazing.
This is actually a gift from James Spurn, and I'm checking out his channel. His channel is on YouTube. Dive Into with James Spurn. He does for those who are into like, yeah, he's been on in the chat. He's watched the show.
Yeah.
And he has his stuff looks amazing, and he does a lot of I don't even know like not IT but like dev stuff, Kubernetes, containers, cloud native, and more. I'm reading on his YouTube channel.
Nice.
So super kind guy. Bent over backwards to try to hang out when he was here in Chicago, and it just didn't work out because of me. But he's a really great guy, so he was super kind to send this over as a
That's amazing.
So, fan of the channel. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to checking this out.
I'm interested to hear. And I'll very quickly say that I'm going back. I wasn't going to drink today. I was actually going to have a non-alcoholic because I thought you gentlemen weren't going to. And I might have had some wine last night during dinner, but we'll see. That's another conversation. So I'm going back to this absolutely phenomenal grappa that I got from Duty Free in Italy. And it's upsetting to me because I can't get it here, and it's so good, and everything else in the grappa category tastes like ass, and so I love this stuff. So I'm gonna have this. So there you go. I'm pouring some right now, and
That bottle's severely depleted since last time we saw it.
Well, last night when I came in after dinner, after having a little bit of wine, and still needing to edit the daily drop. I was feeling like maybe I'd have some grappa because it's made from grapes as well. So it's kind of like not mixing, right? It's distilled grapes.
No, that's the rule. Yeah, right. Sure.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Gentlemen and everybody else, Happy New Year to everybody.
Happy New Year.
And lovely to see you after just a couple of weeks, which is great.
Yeah.
DJ says, my attempt at a Welsh accent always starts straying north and sounding confoundingly Newcastle-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was saying that mine goes to India, but really it's kind of a tour of the globe. My Welsh accent, it's not.
A tour of the globe. Unbelievable. Cheers, Jago. Brandon's having the latte. And today, by the way, is really, even though we say we're going to put on our future goggles and talk about where we think production's going to go in 2024, it's really about the chat. So we really want you to, kick this thing up, get some conversations going, put in at the C47. I feel like we're always playing catch up on these monthly episodes that we do. But because it's only been a couple of weeks, I feel like we can kind of just sit back a little and just have some conversations and, and stuff. DJ, you already saw the loose edit. That was today's episode from the drinking. So that was what I edited. It's daily. Don't forget, kid. So we'll see what happens in the next hour with this. Yeah. Well, 5 days a week.
Cheat that shutter. Right. I'm going to check this one out. No, that's a month ago.
Oh, God. Don't do that. Don't do it. Don't
Daylight
do this to
white
yourself.
Point matters.
It does. Sometimes.
I started that one. I got halfway through.
And then he was like, "Hell no!"
And then something happened. It wasn't you, but something happened in my life, and I didn't finish it.
Yeah, you knew about it. That's what happened. All right, so what do we got, kids? Either of you, Ben or Caleb, can get this going. I mean, we can talk about virtual production. We can talk about GenAI, UtilityAI. We can talk about, what do you think in this year are the things that starting in around NAB, maybe CES, because that's right around the corner. It's just about to happen. What do you think we're going to start to see that could have impact in what we do when it relates to production? I would love to hear it, and let's get the conversation going.
Oh, man. Stuff we think will happen between when NAB and the future.
Well, no, just 2024. So we're like CES onwards.
This year, what are we looking
at? What do we start to see? We know we're going to see some other cameras. We know there's going to be some more light fixtures. But what things are going to actually start to make real impact? We've got these effing crazy things coming from Apple in a month. The Vision Pro, but are any of these things going to have any impact on what we do for a living and production? And we can get into post a little, but I'm really talking production primarily. Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. Wow. I can see both of you gave this a lot of thought prior to the show.
So Jem and I were actually on the phone yesterday. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And kind of talking about it's things are really easy right now from a gear perspective.
Right.
Things are super comfortable. So what is the next thing? Sure, there's always things that can be done. Every camera could have ND. We could have all better IO. I was thinking this morning, man, would it be great if everything was kind of a C70 style form factor, and like maybe they had two video outputs to these smaller cameras. That'd be pretty sweet. Like 2 HDMIs you could control independently. So there's lots of little things they could do. But it's starting to get really darn like, what is the next big thing? Is it, and you had mentioned, there's this, could there be some kind of leapfrog situation where we're all looking at like AI.
Virtual production and AI.
Or virtual production, but will the whole iPhone thing just completely leapfrog that whole situation?
Yeah,
I don't know.
so I can feed off of that just a little and see what everybody's feelings are in the chat. For me, what I'm trying to figure out is, global shutter everything. I'm down with that. I'm trying to figure out the whole virtual production for the corporate, small crew market, because it's not going to be big volumes. Obviously, the GPUs are getting better. Somebody's going to come out with, or a bunch of companies are going to hook into Unreal Engine in a way where it's not like you have to know everything about Unreal Engine to have an environment. And, a friend of mine, Tim Kang, who is, he's a cinematographer, but he was with Quasar. He's now like the head of engineering for Aperture. And he and I were talking a couple of weeks ago. And Tim's a very smart guy, does stuff with ASC and things like that. And, he said, the thing you have to realize about virtual production, and he's absolutely right, is essentially virtual production in a nutshell is just rear projection, right? That's what it is. You're using LED walls, but it's a rear projection technology, which is affecting the environment that the person is supposed to be in. A lot of it has to be done in pre-production as opposed to post if you're doing shows, because you have to have all of that stuff worked out for the environment. But in the corporate space, you don't really need to do that. In the corporate space, it's, okay, I'm doing an interview in a cafe or a big conference room or in a great architectural space. And so it has to be photorealistic, but you may only need to see 180 degrees of the world. You may only need to be able to, and I know there's problems right now of having multiple cameras, but have 1, 2, 3 cameras. And then what if you're doing a cooking show or a presentation? That's also not an environment where you need to see characters interacting in the background. It's more of an environment type of thing. But it's still a big ask to have a wall. A 10 by 20 wall costs a lot of money. And there's a lot of technologies. And then I was effing around last year with Runway in the middle of the year. And I just recorded like 10 seconds worth of stuff. And it completely replaced my entire environment and everything in it. And if I wanted it to, it could make me into an alien or some other character with a phone. So I'm wondering, that's the leapfrogging thing. Is like, am I focusing too much on how to put all of this together with all of these technologies? Or is it just going to get leapfrogged with, apps that are going to be on smartphones and tablets and things like that, or even integrated into Sony's next cameras?
I was going to say, that's where I wonder where it really could get interesting. And if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be Sony. Because of all the manufacturers, Panasonic could be, but I don't think they move fast enough. I think they're way too slow. But Sony, like Ben has made the point in the past, Canon, it takes decades of like sign-offs to finally introduce something. Whereas Sony will we just stumbled across this new thing. Yeah, throw it in the next. What are we releasing next week?
Well, who cares?
Put it in there.
Yeah.
Put it in there.
Next week's camera.
They have the hair trigger on that stuff. Yeah, just
and they have the optics now. They're totally a legitimate optical company. They have the sensors for sure. They also have incredible processing, and they're I think maybe Panasonic, but of everyone else, they're the only ones who have made computers in the past.
Well, that's it. They've made a lot of computers.
Yeah,
a lot.
Yeah, and TVs, and they have the world is their oyster.
And they know AI. Of all the companies in the industry,
Yeah.
Sony is.
Yep.
They also have
Focus stuff.
Mocopi, which is this motion capture technology. They have this crazy screen now, which looks like you're looking at a 3-dimensional world, and you can like design things. They have all kinds of crazy technology. They in their labs, they have all of the potential ingredients to integrate things beyond anybody else into actual camera systems, but the Android and iOS game when it comes to smartphones is getting so good. I don't know. Like, does it? And they're talking about putting micro four thirds sensors now into smartphones. I've read a whole article on that. Oh yeah, because they're already at 1 inch. Not Apple, but there are companies looking at doing micro four thirds. Come on, Camille, let's go. We got one here.
Snap.
Boom, super chat. Oh, dip for the booze. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. I could have had something less horrible. Anyway.
Well, we'll deal with that later on.
Next time. Thank you very much.
Yes. So that's what I got there, and we are Go ahead.
So I was going to say, with all that, if you're looking at cameras, manufacturers building that stuff in at that sort of level, at what point do you see the demand for it being there, and who? That's kind of my slight, I suppose, struggle to see where things go with it, because it's like what's possible and who's going to be doing it, and that smartphone stuff. So if we're saving on budget and we're not going to that cafe and we're going to produce that with AI that we're going to shoot this interview in, a lot of those companies, and it's happening with quite a lot of, particularly someone I was speaking to recently who's a client, that they're doing all that internally, they're doing it all themselves, it's all smartphone stuff, and that's definitely coming quick, and it's kind of already beginning. All of that stuff's happening. But for, I suppose, that part that Jem and I work in a fair bit in that corporate side of things, I kind of really struggle to see who that kind of, who's using it and for exactly for what. Does that make sense? And Jem, that's kind of something that I think you may have a much better insight to than I do at the moment.
Well, I'm going to have Caleb come in with what he was going to say, but I do have some thoughts, but I want to hear what you were going to say, Caleb.
Well, I guess we should probably, I was just trolling off of the Sony stuff, because Apple, they have their small sensors, and they're doing all this wild stuff with fake shallow depth of field and all this kind of thing. But you kind of have multiple technologies or tools that are all kind of segmented, and so if we back up a little bit, we have what these phones can do when it comes to taking an image and making it look like something not shot on a phone, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then we have all these these video walls and these virtual sets, right? Mm-hmm. And there's two ways to do that, right? You've got green screen, and then you've got rear projection. Yeah. And if there's a way for all that, to Ben's question, I think if there's a method of capturing someone, whoa,
wow,
that's interesting.
That's pretty cool.
You just became one of those those things you can buy where you take a movie and it shows like all the color over the course of a movie and doing like an art board or whatever. You just became one of those.
This thing has been weird today.
Who did that? Was that Ecamm or was that like?
No, it's I don't know. It's being really weird. I'm gonna restart my Black Magic, but we'll see how that goes. I don't know.
Long story short, if I could replace this entire monster setup I have that you guys can't see that's filming me with an iPhone, that would be awesome. Or if I could make this set behind me, but the wall is 2 feet behind me instead of 12 or 14 feet, that would be super awesome. Where essentially the gear gets out of the way, you can essentially design any interview setup, any scene, the background and the way it looks, the lensing, if it was all algorithmically controlled, where essentially you could replace, an Alexa mini LF and whatever lenses with a phone, and then design the scene. And if if Jem could just go into this magical world with a wand and create whatever lighting he could think up without actually needing the lights or the power or whatever, that's where it gets really awesome.
So that's it. And what you're saying about it being from the phone, that I completely get. And particularly for corporate stuff, because they're already pulling stuff in-house. When we've run courses, we've been on those Jem's courses that we've worked on at NAB, and the delegates that are at those courses and the stuff those guys and the stuff they're making, that's all going in-house. It's been this kind of lull. When I started 20 years ago, maybe a bit more, 25 years ago, then there was quite a lot of in-house photography. People had photographers in-house, and then it's gone down. And the last few years, that's all coming back up. That's all going back in-house again. And that smartphone thing, that's where all of that's going. Well, where not a huge amount of it's going. So I can kind of see that. I guess what I struggle to see is kind of where it fits in with us, or with me, particularly in the kind of work that I do. And it's kind of trying to figure out ways that you can incorporate that, and that's actually going to add value for client stuff. It's going to be something you can offer. But I really struggle to visualize what that is.
Oh, we got no audio there, Jem. So we can see you. You're not vertical color bars anymore, so that's nice. So you say you can't visualize like how Ben Barden use that tool.
So you're right. So Jago's just asked, interview setups, it would be good for us. So that's a lot of the stuff that we actually do together. But that's so I see that. But at the point at which they're then faking the interview setup, are they employing us, or are they shooting that on an iPhone? It's almost.
Oh,
like,
I see.
Does that cut us out completely?
I think it still 100% employs people like you and Jem. It's a matter of what movie am I thinking of, chat, where they have like world designers or something like that? Like you're still gonna have people like me, yahoos, who are gonna film their own stuff, or content creators who are just using the tech, and instead of a DSLR and a bunch of lights and stuff from Aperture or Amaran, it's an iPhone. And they maybe watch some videos and they know how to, hey, there he is, make it look pretty. But then there's going to be, like, as an extreme example, like you do the oil tanker stuff, right? What if you could, without going out in a helicopter over the ocean, capture or design something around that? Yeah, don't say that. But the point is,
exactly
people who.
My point.
But yeah, I know. But still, stick with me for a second. You could, if you can close us visual creatives. I mean, I don't know. I'm incredibly visual. I can close my eyes and think of something I want to make or want to shoot, and literally see the lighting, the color, the camera movement, and the tricky thing is then achieving that in the real world. If you had tools where you could create that with less of a barrier, because I feel like all of us, even with good lighting skills, sometimes in some scenarios it's a lot of work to get that what you have in your head to actually be deployed in the real world.
Yeah, for sure.
With limitations. So if that goes away, there's still that how to make it look good knowledge, right? Even with all these tools, there might be algorithms that can get you most of the way there, but to have that, like, that chef's kiss shot is still going to require someone who knows back 3/4 lighting with blah 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 blah, volumetric lighting, all these things that the average Joe won't.
Yeah.
So I think there's still a place for using these tools and hiring someone to use these crazy tools. It's just going to look different. It's not going to be a whole rig, a whole truck full of grip gear and lighting. Yeah.
No, and I think that's interesting. I think there's also that thing about, in terms of the end user stuff, is at which point, which already happens a little bit now in terms of when we're talking about, what has been created or what's been manipulated digitally, in terms of, say, for Instagram posts, there's this whole thing that everything's so over edited, it's not realistic how people look. and then there's this unrealistic look that people aspire to, and all of that stuff now, and that there's ways that they can highlight this is a manipulated image. And with the AI stuff in the stuff that we do, is there a point at which there becomes this huge trust issue in terms of the audience for it? When we're talking about corporate stuff, I think when we talk about entertainment, that's very different. But I think that's also a big question with it. You know, What
the hell was that?
What the hell was that?
Balloons out of nowhere. Jem?
Ooh.
It was just Ben.
Absolutely nothing. Unbelievable.
Right. I have my camera plugged into the cam link that's it. So it's the R5C plugged into the cam link, and that's what it's taking the video feed on. That's it. What did I say that
Yeah, what did you say?
And this is something AI that has
I mean, you did your thumbs up earlier, and like all these things started popping up.
Try that now. See if it does it.
Oh my! That's an iPhone thing, dude. That is an iPhone thing. If you do that with your iPhone, it sends that in like. Are you FaceTiming right now? What's going on?
Give 2 thumbs up, Ben.
Where's this coming through?
Go
Don't
like this.
flip us off though.
Like nod your head. Oh my!
Yeah. Yeah. Happy New Year. Unbelievable. Look, I can do it. Man. Nothing's happening over here.
What browser are you in?
Can you try? Can you try yours,
go like
Caleb?
this.
Do 2 thumbs up.
Thumbs down.
Do thumbs down.
Thumbs down.
Oh, it's raining. It's a storm. What is happening? Have your kids hacked your system?
Ben, I don't know what's going on over there,
happening? Man. I'm in Safari and
wave your hand
on a.
Oh wait, what does that do?
Oh,
rolling shutter. Listen,
I know when you're FaceTiming someone, if you go thumbs up, like there's a thumbs up bubble.
Yeah,
but it's just
amazing.
It happens in WhatsApp as well.
Wait, how did you get the balloons though? That's what I want to know.
I know, like happy birthday balloons.
The balloons were amazing. Yeah,
there's some
2 thumbs up is fireworks.
Are you on
a
Mac right now? Yeah, you're on the Mac Studio, right?
Yeah,
this is
I did, Brandon. It's all part of the plan for the future.
For the
future goggles. These are the future goggles, Brandon. By the way, you know that the interstellar thing that happened with my image, that was on the back of the A7C2.
That's good.
No, Brandon said that. It was all. So I went to the back of the A7C2, and that's what the camera looked like, and it wouldn't shut off. I had to remove the battery. And reseat the battery and restart it, and then I had to redo the Blackmagic. I don't know what's happening today. Give us 2 thumbs up.
That was on the screen of the camera. That's scary.
On the screen of the camera. Do the soundtrack. Nothing.
Wow.
Oh boy. 1 thumb up. I don't know what's happening. Ben is going woke.
Did he freeze? He froze.
Yeah, 2-piece side. 2-piece sides. Oh yeah, I can hear you just fine. I guess you're going out for a second.
Just frozen on. That's fantastic.
All right, well come back and visit us. We'll leave you on the frozen image until you come back, because at least we have you. I got to take a screenshot.
Oh my
of this.
gosh, just leave it. Just leave him. Don't go to a 2-up. Just leave him.
No, I'm gonna just leave him until he shows up.
I don't have to be self-conscious about trying not to look like. Well,
I didn't get any fireworks this time though. This has digressed into something other than we thought.
So speaking of AI, Jem,
though, the whole
yes,
yeah. Makes me feel real old. We don't know what's happening right now. The computer's.
Oh, no.
Oh, now he's gone.
Now what's happened?
Okay, fine. Okay, good. Here.
Have I gone completely?
Yeah, you're gone completely. Yeah, you probably should go away.
All right, but you can hear me. All right, I'll
it feels like the old days. Now I feel like we're on Lightstream.
I know.
It's like Lightstream.
It's exciting.
Who was sold again? By the way, Videndum got the hell out of that.
Still?
Yeah, I don't know, maybe not.
Oh man, what a cluster.
Right. I'm going out and coming back.
Small rant, by the way. Why does everything have to be like capitally financed? Have you noticed that? Like, I'm sick of all these startups where they just throw money at whatever they're doing. What happened to the good old mom and pop slowly building a business? Why does everyone have to be like venture capital, and we'll just like go after it and then flop massively? Oh, he's back.
It's ridiculous. Did you hear that Pixar, they let off a bunch of, they let off, Yeah. Oh my God. It's getting crazy.
Why is this not happening for you two?
Because we have nothing to do with your crazy,
what's your
check
workflow?
computer
R5C,
system.
Cam Link,
R5C,
into
Cam Link,
Ecamm?
and then going straight into Ecamm from that, yeah. That's it. There's nothing else in between.
And David's trying to ask a real question, and here we are.
So
like
insane.
having little... I should start doing sound effects. We should start doing the horns and everything. Oh, unbelievable. Okay. Yeah, we're not going to beat this one, DJ. I mean, we used to beat it all the time in the old days. That sounds wrong.
I mean,
we used to be...
Wow.
Demonetized. Okay. Well, it wasn't right, but, what are you going to do? You have to at least acknowledge the insanity of what was just said.
What happens if I do that on camera? What happens in the background?
I don't know what you're talking about, Ben, but that's the end of discussion. You can't follow what I just said and saying, what if I do that in the background? Okay, dead. Unbelievable. I feel like we're back in the old days, which is kind of fun, actually.
It was great, but in the old days, we used to have an hour show, and we only used to actually have to fill 15 minutes because 45 was taken up.
It would just
with all the
break.
stuff.
There would be no, that's cute. Like, it's working too well. That it's like now, your computer is doing things to the,
Oh, I know, AI.
Okay,
Brandon says, bring out the mannequins.
I got him for you. Here we go.
Where do we leave off?
Okay, here's what I want to say.
Speak now that it works. Your microphone is working.
We know that smartphones are going to advance very quickly.
Right.
And we're going to be able to do, face tracking, replacing things, all that. But they're still pretty small sensors. If they do put Micro Four Thirds sensors in there, that's going to be really interesting. But you can't, at least currently, compete with APS-C and full-frame sensors in terms of low-light capabilities and the image that you can capture, right? 10-bit, 422, low-light, clean images. So it would be great if a company like Sony, and I don't know if any other company could actually pull it off, could give us a camera where... Look, I want rear projection because I love the advantage of that's lighting the actual place. But at least the idea that you could set up, here's two scenarios. One is a green screen, that's the obvious. What if we could take all the black magic stuff out of it? We already know that real-time keying is a very real thing, right? Zoom's doing it, all these other people are doing it. What if we just set up a camera, we light an interview, it's green screen, but there's a library and we can just replace the environment like as just part of the whole process. It's just actually doing it in camera. So you're basically choosing from a library, it's auto keying, and you do, go ahead. I'm listening.
Well, no, I was so is the advance from that in terms of, as well as it auto keying, adding the backdrop in, is that
and
also
parallax.
going to alter?
Yeah, so ideally you have parallax.
And lighting on subject.
Yeah, because maybe to a degree, but I think you have to start thinking about image-based lighting in that environment. You have to say, okay, what's my background? But the next phase of that is keying doesn't have to be green or blue. You can key white, you can key gray, you can key any color. So what would stop us from having a background where you could use essentially LED background light? And you could say, I want to key more from this side or this side, and then supplement it with image-based lighting. But it's still doing a real-time key. So you're getting some of the lighting of the subject. That's a whole other thing. But I do feel like Sony's the only one that can start to think about doing stuff like this. I'm thinking in camera with parallax, 0 point in the world. You're replacing things in real time. So you can basically just show up in the studio and say, okay, we're going to shoot 20 interviews. And okay, what's this person environment going to be? You set up 2 or 3 cameras. It's all worked out in terms of camera movement, parallax. And so you're capturing essentially a composite. But just like with audio, it's also giving you just the green screen like as a separate recording. So if you decide you want to change that environment later in post. I'm going in maybe not a different direction, but sort of what I think might be interesting in terms of it all being in camera. Wow, that's great response. Amazing. Look at Caleb. Yeah. But you understand, like we're getting it all happening in camera. Is that something that you think will happen?
Do you see how
I guess
none of us are excited about this in the least?
Huh?
Well, it's.
Do you know? But I don't mean, I'm joking, obviously, to a degree. But none of us are like, wouldn't it be amazing? When we're all like, this is what's kind of.
Right.
Yeah.
But there is a challenge. I mean, it's so much work. If you want to go the green screen route, it's a lot of planning ahead and in post-production to make it look decent. So if they could build technology into the camera where you could essentially have a 180-degree world, and you could say, okay, I have 100 choices in terms of what environment this person could be. And maybe it's user contributed in terms of you have to build a space based on these specific guidelines, and now you can become part of the library that people can access. I don't know if there's an advantage to that, but it could be interesting.
I think there's going to be if this progresses, there's going to be 3 levels. There's the current level, which is it's a real camera, like Mandalorian. It's a real camera filming a real person with a actual screen that is both lighting and moving and showing the background. That's phase 1. I think phase 2 is going to be a mix of the camera tech and the processing tech, and maybe it is green screen, where it can actually, the sensor of the camera can read, like if you look at Jem's face right now, it can read the exposure and the drop off, the fall off on his nose. And then, okay, well, the key's clearly coming from this direction. Let's replicate that automatically in the background. So then you're just lighting in the real world your actual person, and it's just dealing with the background. It's just taking care of it. So you don't need the volumetric stuff. So that's phase 2. And then I think ultimately phase 3 is a glorified Instagram or Snapchat filter, where it sees a person. And you can do whatever. You can make them a lizard. You can make them a 65-year-old 23. You can do whatever you want, and it'll just look incredible. And the people to follow to watch that stuff, like the bleeding edge, in my opinion, is Corridor Crew on YouTube. Have you watched their stuff?
Put that down. No, I want to see that.
Corridor Crew.
Unbelievable. They just did a video. They're doing like motion tracking. I'll send you a couple videos. They took a Tom Cruise impersonator.
Yeah.
And they put Tom Cruise's face on the Tom Cruise impersonator using deepfakes.
Yep.
But they're already, like, deepfakes is old news to these guys. They're already looking at AI generated, where you don't need a library of 1,000 hours of footage of Tom Cruise to make a deepfake. It just uses AI. And so they did a sequence where they use the dots and the camera, like, what are the blue people? That movie.
Avatar thing.
Yeah, Avatar. They use that technology, but then they fed it into Unreal to make a video game like cinematic sequence or a scene. And one of the guys wanted to use AI to then take the video game character face and put a real person's face on it, as opposed to the computer generated face. And they were talking about the pros and cons of the computer generated can read the muscle movements of the dots on their face, whereas the AI, the performance is lost, but it looks super real. And you've probably heard of the curve of like cartoon characters versus real people. The closer you get to real people, there's this like disbelief value that us humans, we like, that's something's wrong.
Right.
But we buy it when it's like Frozen, Disney Frozen, when it's weird and their eyes are huge. Yeah. But the closer you get to reality, there's a little spike where we're like, that's not real. That's not so real. Weird. And you have to get over that. We're trying to get over that, and we're not there yet. The AI is able to do it now. And so if you watch their newest video, they show where it looks like a real person. It's insane. But the performance, they show side by side, the performance is lost. So all the little nuances to how their face moves is lost. But once we get past that, then there's no reason to have need to see Jem. We can film Jem, but we can just make him.
Yeah, I don't see why we can't do something where somebody sits down in a space and it's incredibly low lit, right? It's comfortable enough for the person to be able to see everything that's in the space, but it's just enough information for a large sensor to capture enough data that we can relight, as you said, in any way we want, right? So there's enough exposure on the person that it's capturing the data it needs to say, I want these light ratios for this person. So I want to make it look like they're being split lit. I want to make it look like it's more of a, clamshell lighting. I want to make it more like it's looped lighting, whatever it's going to be. So there's enough data that's being captured by the camera, because there's some interesting technologies. Is that company that I actually have one of their green screens. What's it called? It's like a ring light that sits in front of your lens, and then the actual green screen has all of this crushed glass inside of it, and it basically reflects to those LEDs. I'll send you a link at some point, but and then basically it's not lighting talent at all, and you're not getting any spill at all. But what it does is if your lens is facing that background the right way, it immediately keys it out. It's got a relationship between the green or the blue lights, and it gets rid of that background. And then you can get very clean keys. And the person can literally be like a foot or two away from the green screen. It's not a green screen. And it's chroma matte, I think it is, or something like that. And it's amazing technology. But you barely have to have any light on the person to pull the key. But what if you barely had to have any light on the talent, so that you could also just choose in real time with a controller, okay, we want to light this person like this, and we want to do a real-time key, and they're in this environment. I don't see why we couldn't do that pretty soon, or even now.
That's kind of, no, I would say that's there even now. When you're saying about that kind of low light stuff, you look at what an iPhone does in terms of not only, so if you're in, say, very directional light on somebody, and even very directional, very low light on somebody, and what the software is doing within that, in terms of what comes out of that camera, is a fairly evenly lit,
right?
Possibly slightly noisy when you blow the thing, but so we're kind of there with that in terms of it being able to map somebody and work out that, and then be able to redraw it.
Yep,
for sure.
Uh-huh. Maybe that's the next really thing depressing. Is the ability to, yes, but I still think it goes back to what Caleb was saying, is Caleb can close his eyes and can envision what he wants to see. And if we can take these tools and we have knowledge of, of lighting and ratios and what we want, we're the people who can probably get to that. Now, sure, there's going to be a library and say, do you want to light this way, that way? And they're just going to press a button. Right. So maybe it doesn't matter. But I feel like at least in the beginning.
What's his face?
I'm ready.
Cinematographer of one of the greatest cinematographers of our time. Who also doesn't care what he films. Yeah, Deakins. Yeah. I can see him like, yeah, sure, I'll use that thing. Because he has that beautiful mind that can create whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But I do wonder, going back to Ben's thing, if we get to this point where all this is possible, where forget lumens and forget the green screen spill, like you just point the iPhone or whatever the device is, and there's so much it can capture, and the processing power is incredible. It can make anything you want, and it looks fully real. Let's say we reach 100%, and someone, Uncanny Valley, DJ Sucker Tash, that's what it's called, the Uncanny Valley. Yeah. We surpass that. We can do whatever we want. Then like you said, Ben, in the entertainment business, it's great. You can create these crazy wild worlds in the gaming world. You can do whatever you want. But then there's going to be a day, like there's still going to be like the president of the United States is in an interview. Like it's a real person. We want to see a real person. Or a documentary, or there's going to be like even stuff like this, like when the world is filled with not real things, there's going to be value placed on real things.
Real things.
So I think for our lifetime, we're probably okay for like a job.
Yeah.
I
think particularly given particularly Jem's advancing age, and we're catching him, but it's he's fine. Like, he'll work out the rest of his days with the old stuff. You actually's probably put more thought into this than the rest of us. But the whole thing that I was watching, and I read this isn't my observation, sadly, but if you look at stuff that is produced by Apple, TV shows that are produced by Apple, you look at those on Apple TV, and you look at the way all that stuff's lit.
Yeah.
It's not absolutely all of it, but there's this trend with it that it's so flatly, overly lit, everything, that it feels unreal within it.
Well, the morning show is the perfect example of that.
The morning
because
show
it's
is
very it is very much like, it almost feels sourcey, but it's this huge, like, gigantic, and it's just over the edge of feeling overexposed. It's really weird. You're right. It almost feels like AI. Maybe Jennifer Aniston no longer exists in this world. Maybe.
But, well, partly there's something slightly unnatural about the way she looks in that, which I don't know what
plastic surgery
is causing that. But maybe that was the thing. The lips don't look right. But anyway, I literally last night finished watching the 3rd season of Morning Show, which is probably the thing that's in my mind most. But there's an awful lot. So in terms of motivated lighting, there's loads of examples in that show where you go, ooh, she's got catchlight. Where's that coming from? Because she's facing a wall. And it cuts to the reverse, and you go, nope. But then the story pulls you back out of it a couple of shots later. But it's jarring in a lot of things. The other one that I would say is the most obvious case of this is Ted Lasso. The stuff looks like a video game. So my kids are playing FIFA, or one of my football obsessed daughter is playing FIFA all the time. And then it cuts to stuff from Ted Lasso. And I can't tell them apart. If I'm at the other end of the room, and it's kind of casually looking at it, everything's so absolutely flatly and overly lit. And there's a character in that, one of the footballers, who looks kind of AI generated. I mean, he's not, but the way he's been lit, it just doesn't fit right. That perfectly even lighting that he has, it just doesn't gel.
You mean Kent?
I mean, Kent.
No, because my daughter walked by the morning. She walked by Ted Lasso the other day because my in-laws are watching it here at the house, and she goes, "Is that real? That looks fake." And it was a press conference with Kent, and she said that. So it's almost the thing you were saying, Caleb, where it's that, there's that place that we're trying to get over, but that is actually real. It's real production. So we're in this really weird place now. Yeah. I don't know what the heck's going on.
And there's this.
I agree, DJ.
Thing,
we'll rename it.
But are Apple doing this on purpose? Because obviously they're very pushing in that phone side of things, and
but is it them that's doing it? Because they're not the production company behind all of that stuff. Is it just a coincidence?
That Tim Apple wasn't like, hey, make this look like it was shot on the iPhone so we can sell more iPhones.
Maybe Brandon, you are Ted Lasso.
You know as well as I do. That's exactly what they're doing.
It's true. See, Jess just commented on it. See, she's backing me up here. The kid just commented on it last night. Yeah.
Yep.
It's true. Schofield. They did. Yes. Unbelievable. And we're still ignoring David Carroll here on the monitors. We gotta get
David, I'm so sorry. He's like
we're
false
coming
color
back.
blogging here, and we're not talking about it.
I know. We're like, oh my God.
Monitors. That's the old world. We're past that now. Like, we don't need monitors. You just point the camera rough.
The reason, by the way, David, you're having inconsistencies between those two monitors is because they're inconsistent, because the panels don't match. I mean, that's the problem that you're having.
I looked for a second. Is he saying the false color, or the whatever it's called, the one guy's false color version?
Oh, EL system. Yeah, I haven't used that.
EL. Is the EL not the same? Because that's interesting.
Yeah, that would be interesting to find out. But you did make a follow-up. Yeah. I think,
Yeah,
David, for your own sanity,
EL zone.
just understand that unless you're spending $10,000 to $20,000 on the monitor, let's start at Flanders and go up to Sony and Canon. Then, unless you're in that realm, you're not going to have consistency. And there are calibration solutions for those monitors from Calibrite and companies like that, or X-Rite, but they're not necessarily going to give you still a situation where those two panels are going to match perfectly, is my guess. Unless you're going way up to those panels that they're sourcing and selling for a lot. But I might be wrong about that. So.
No, it's true. I have two different manufacturer panels on my main editing system, and they're close enough to be workable. But there's definitely, and those are calibrated, hardware calibrated, and they're not the same. They're close enough. They're very close, but there's certain you can see blues particularly slight shifts.
DJ says that's interesting. I kind of took it as a return to the Paramount lighting look instead of a Rembrandt style, like classic studio television look, kind of the vengeance against the Mad Men era. Yeah, I mean, if you think about classic Hollywood films, especially during the golden era, a lot of that stuff was black and white, but you did have what almost felt like very sourcey, wrapped light. Of course, that light was hard light. It wasn't soft light like we have in the morning show and things like that. But it's this, it's this beautifying with this sourcey kind of huge sources. I don't love the look. It's kind of this glow. It's almost like it hits the skin and it glows so much. But I do see a trend. Yeah. So I don't know.
But it's another slight side note on it. But in terms of all the streaming services that we all subscribe to, Apple's tends to look the best on its first, aside from the way they light things.
Right.
However they're compressing things, however they're getting that into my TV, it looks better than everyone else's.
Yeah, true.
I will agree. I agree. Also, agree. Luminance. Like when that Apple logo, that bing with the plus, it's like, okay, I have an HDR TV with 1,000 nits, and I'm seeing 1,000 nits right now. Like I love how they really go for it. I don't notice that with anyone else.
They're serious about all of that, and I think the last keynote proves it just by watching the BTS on the iPhone 15 Pro being used. You can tell that the people that they've hired that are behind everything that's happening for their pipeline from production to post, including the guy who's behind the silicon chips, who's in like his secret, evil lair down there, the guy who's Austrian or whatever. They really are hardcore about all of that stuff, and they really understand it. And I'm surprised that they're not doing even more. You can say they're doing tons because of, what's happening with the iPhone and everything else, but it almost feels like they're like, when you look at Final Cut Pro and you look at their post solutions, they're not scratching the surface of what they could potentially do with the understanding they have and what they can do in a device and then taking that to post-production. But I don't know.
Right.
I think we'll see. Yep. David saying, so the colors aren't even the same on the way you read them on the legend. Well, I mean, that's got to be a panel issue, right, David? I might be wrong about that, but I think you've got inconsistency from panel to panel. I mean, this is the problem with companies going into the high-end monitoring space, both Atomos and Small HD, who make great products. But in order to make a product that's going to be used by a colorist or somebody as a consistent color grading solution, you can't sell those monitors at $1,000 to $1,500. You're not going to source consistently. Yeah.
Post some photos, David. What are you talking about?
That'd
Show
be good.
us like photos of like, are you saying the little thing that says here's the cube colors and what they mean, and versus the actual colors?
Yep.
I would say of anyone anyone I know or anyone I've seen their anality I would say you're probably a great, like, if David's like, this is good, this is technically correct, I like this, then a company is like completely nailed it.
Right.
From your submissions, David's like, over the top, down to the the
Yeah, you're going down the rabbit hole pretty deep.
beta tester. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, David, you should go to shows and just get the ear of the engineers and the people behind these products, because they need to hear this stuff. Yeah.
Will Small HD be at NAB? Probably not.
No idea. Will anybody be at NAB? Who knows?
Probably not.
That is a question that remains to be answered. It's crazy sauce. All right, what do we have? Caleb, you're great at this. Would you kind of scroll back and see if there's anything from the chat that we need to kind of touch base on?
Small Brown Fox says Deacons would not be impressed. I don't know what with.
Yes, I'd like to hear.
Clarify there.
Yes.
What do we got? If you guys go on there, it says Brandon. Oh, Brandon.
Thanks. We don't know what's happening
Black
right
Magic Ultimat is a great start from Camille. Yeah, if it's not Sony, I could see Black Magic getting weird and doing something wild. They haven't figured out autofocus, but they have a lot of crazy
about to say
technology.
If they could work out the AF thing, it would be pretty interesting. But I'm assuming that Panasonic and Blackmagic and Fuji are going to figure out the AF thing at some point, don't you think?
They have to. It's 2024, right?
Do you not think that if
Panasonic did it, almost?
Almost.
That alone should shame everyone else.
They almost did it though. They didn't quite.
Yeah, almost. But almost is. I mean, I would say they're probably.
Are they number 3?
4th place.
Well, who's third? So
Sony, Canon. In my opinion,
Yes.
Canon and Sony are very close, but I'm gonna give.
they're
it to
close,
Sony.
but still Sony. Yeah, Sony still's got.
I'm gonna
AF,
say
100%.
Nikon, then Panasonic.
In video for Nikon,
Yep.
because forget about stills. Okay,
I mean,
so now
I've not touched that stuff because I.
And then I would say Fuji is probably number 5.
Probably.
Beautiful image,
And
but
then after
they still need to
Fuji-
sort it.
Who's after Fuji? That's a good question. Maybe this sounds crazy, but I've heard Red is starting to get somewhat decent
Yeah, yeah.
with like a one not AI like tracking eyes and face, but like just put a box over there and it focuses. Yeah. I mean, who's left at that point? Blackmagic, Zcam.
Right. All right,
There's
so
no
I see this.
autofocus at all for Airy.
Nor do they care.
Yeah, no.
No. I mean, but you look at you look at Sony and the Buranos coming out, and that's going to have incredible AF. I mean, that's really the first.
They're marketing it with like you see it in a marketing photo with like an EF G Master lens on it. It's hilarious.
Exactly. So you take a look at that. That's a $25,000 camera system. That's the first time a camera company has really said, "Look, we've got a plus $20,000 camera." And AF is a big part of this camera system, but it comes from, the Venice, DNA.
It's pretty sick, that camera.
I still think it's Sony's game when it comes to doing something in the camera realm that nobody else is doing. They sort of are the best position to do that right now. I would love for somebody else to surprise us, including a Blackmagic, and do something that's just totally left field, out of craziness land, and all of that. And we're clearly going to see a lot more lighting manufacturers do image-based lighting, where you can feed video images to their light fixtures, and especially with somebody like Tim now with Aperture, because he was already like on that bandwagon with Quasar with their rainbow fixtures and stuff. So I think we're going to see a lot of that happening. But I agree, Jago. We don't have anything that's completely organic in terms of AF yet. You have to kind of tune it, but then when you tune it, it has to do with your environment, your scenario. It gets okay, and then it just sort of, wigs out. It's almost like somebody, drugged the AF system temporarily, and it just like freaks out
No,
for a second.
I would disagree with that. It depends on what your scenario is.
That's
If
what I
you've
said.
got a
Scenario.
complicated, like
Inside.
techno crane shot with multiple emotional objects. That's one thing. But if we're talking like over the shoulder shots,
I think handheld floating is really good. Like Sony has got that.
There's no reason, honestly, with the current breed of cameras, there's zero reason why the burrito, as I called it, the Sony burrito, couldn't get just set it to autofocus and over the shoulder shot, you're done. Unless you wanted an optical look with something that's no autofocus.
That's the point. Yeah, that's the point.
The amount of movies Cassie notices it. Cassie notices it. Sorry
yeah,
to
where they're
interrupt,
missing
but Cassie's
focus.
like all the time. She's like,
pulling back.
focus, mother. There's the balloons. There it is. Go like this. Or this. Something with the finger or something with the head. I don't know.
I do this a lot. It could be this.
Yep.
I don't know. Anyway. No, but like, yeah, the slight missing focus and that when you can see the focus pull is very gently pulling it back. He's just missed it. Or it's just, coming back a little. That just kind of it not being quite so perfect, just dialing it out a little bit.
What happens if you do Scout's Honor? What's Scout's Honor? I don't know.
Was that this?
Two fingers straight up.
What happens if you do a Scout's Honor? Let's see Scout's Honor. Come on. Oh, for God's sake. 2? What about Nixon?
Amazing.
What happens with Nixon?
It's 2.
No, Nick, we've done
okay, there it is.
Well. What about?
Why aren't there peace signs? I know I did that a second ago. Yeah, that means something else. We know that.
But that's amazing that it can differentiate AI between the.
Well, it doesn't see. It does. These
Let's keep demonetizing my channel. Why don't you keep doing this and why don't you just put some motion into it too while you're at it?
YouTube's American. It doesn't. That'd be fine.
YouTube's American.
We don't know what that means.
YouTube's American. Unbelievable. Well, look, you guys are awesome.
Anyway, I agree.
I don't know. We didn't accomplish anything today except for we went to Interstellar. Clearly, Ben, you have some magical system over here.
Can somebody please try and offer some explanation as to why this?
Can we see 2 thumbs up?
It's clearly
happening.
What happens if you clap?
One thumbs up is a bubble. Thumbs up bubble, right? There it is. So that's that's Apple for sure. Something Apple is controlling your camera, dude, or your feed. Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah.
We saw balloons.
All of us are on Apple products. I have a Mac Studio. You have a Mac Studio.
I've never gotten this in my life.
Camlink going into USB, going into here. That's it. There's nothing else in between.
It's nuts. It's crazy.
Except for.
Which browsers are you using?
You know, we're not in Middle Earth.
Now, only Chrome.
You live in Middle Earth.
I'm normally Safari.
I'm Safari.
But
oh my God.
Unbelievable.
Well, next month I'll try Safari and we'll do this together.
All right.
See if it
DJ, happens. I'm trying to if anybody has any suggestions for an app I can use when I switch to a different camera or device so I can draw on an image. I can do it with an iPad, but DJ, I want to do the thing where we talk about that episode, but other things about lighting. So send me some links, contact@thec47.com. Clown show it is, as always. Kids, love you. I'm going to go finish editing this thing. I've got a stew to make. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for the fireworks. Happy New Year. And any parting words, Caleb?
I got nothing. Happy birthday, Ben.
Happy birthday.
Happy New Year, everybody. 2024. Here we go.
Happy New Year.
Let's see what happens.
Alan just gave you the key to the castle right there. It came in right at the end. Alan, good to have you. And maybe your first post? Maybe not. Green camera icon in Apple menu. Click on it and click off reactions.
Interesting.
But do I turn it off or do I keep it going and just my surprising.
Yeah,
random balloons. I'm here
so
for
this
I'm
show, you better. Yeah, for this show, you better turn it on every single time. And now, happy birthday, Ben, to you.
How did we get the balloons back? Which was that? Was that
two thumbs up? 2 thumbs up.
No, that's fireworks. No,
there's 2 fingers. Yep. It's
And what is this? What do you get when you do this? Does anything happen with that? You get pecorino romano, Italian style meatballs.
Yeah.
Okay. Kids, love you.
I don't know what that means.
I'm out of here. You don't know what? You ever been to Italy? Okay.
What this means?
See you guys.
Oh.
Come on. All right. Love you guys.
Apple needs a lava cat. Yep.
Lava cat.